Hey, what's up, studs, and welcome to Ask on episode 307. This week, we're going to be talking about the final 25th anniversary minifigure, Jedi Bob, my Separatist army, and much more. If you have a question or topic for next week's episode, leave it in the comments section below. It might just be selected. Hit the like button while you're there, and let's get into it with our first question from Mr. Customs, who says, less than a month until the 2024 Visual Dictionary releases, and no leaks on what minifigure it is, or did I miss that? So it did finally happen in the last week. It is officially going to be a remake of that 2007 Darth Maul minifigure, unlike the other 25th anniversary figures, which are unique characters or unique versions of characters that we've never had before. The Darth Maul is going to be a remake more akin to the 20th anniversary figures, as it does have a print on the back that says 25 years of Lego Star Wars. So it is quite unique compared to the other 25th anniversary figures. There's some discussion out there as to whether or not this is actually the final 6th 25th anniversary figure, because it is so different from the other 5 25th anniversary figures, and I can certainly understand the discussion. The only thing that is out there officially is that Lego on their website says that there will be and are 6 25th anniversary figures, and to me, the Darth Maul is the final 25th anniversary figure. As to the actual Darth Maul figure, I'm certainly not the most excited for it in the world, but the irony is not lost on me that this Darth Maul will have pupils and look good. Meanwhile, the Darth Maul in the Sith Infiltrator will not have pupils, and in my opinion, look quite ugly because of that. Ivan says, do you think Lego will make sets based around the newer Star Wars games coming out, like Outlaws or Hunters, seeing that they haven't done a set for a game since Battlefront 2? So it'd be like, what, 2017? Although you're technically wrong on that, because they did BD1 and they are doing Cal Kestis as one of the 25th anniversary figures. So there are some Jedi Fallen Order sets and things out there. That's besides the point of my answer, though, because we're asking about future games and future releases, and I think Lego would be really dumb to hitch their wagon to any particular future upcoming Star Wars game right now, for the obvious reason that they're just dropping like flies. They keep canceling them. The Mandalorian open world game was recently canceled, and I watched this video by Star Wars Theory, and he essentially explained that Disney and Bob Iger possibly wanting to get out of the contract that they had with EA for that game or whatever, just increased their fee or their take-home cut, whatever, to make it even harder for EA to make a profit on the game or make it less profitable. And so EA would go and cancel the game because they really want to be working with Epic Games. So I think the way Lego should be approaching this sort of thing is to wait until the game releases, see if it's successful or not, see what people like from the game, and then maybe make a set, you know, a year or two down the road. I just don't think you can go and release things day and day, or like even within the same like 1 year time frame of a video game release, because you just can't trust that the game's even going to release at this point. Comic Boy says, thoughts on the Boarding the Tantive 4 set not including an accurate Darth Vader minifigure for this scene of the movie. I've only seen this brought up in one review because everyone else is too focused on 5s instead. The reason I wouldn't bring up something like Darth Vader's inaccuracy to this particular scene in the movie is because I look at it as an equivalent to the clone armor conundrum, just because it kind of rhymes. And so essentially what they did with clone armor is they mixed it together. They took animated clone armor and movie clone armor from episode 2, episode 3 in the Clone Wars, and mixed them together. And so now, no matter what set you're buying, every clone armor is inherently inaccurate. Now, there are still little things that I look for that I think should be accurate to certain things, like the printing on top of 5's head should be much better than it is. And here's a picture of one that is much better than Lego's. But they've essentially done the same thing with Darth Vader, where if it's an episode 4 Darth Vader or an episode 5 Darth Vader or whatever, they just use the same basic Darth Vader armor set. And so I don't bring that up in reviews. That's more or less why I didn't talk about it, though, and I won't talk about it in future reviews because I just don't see a point. Menace Ninja wants to know what the biggest scam I've encountered when buying Lego is, and I want to give a broad answer to this. It's just kind of one of the biggest, most prolific scams that I've seen in the Lego community over the past decade, and that was like the giant Instagram scam that occurred for years, and honestly it seemed impossible to stop. I have no idea how it got weeded out and finally finished off. I mean, I obviously tried to do my part. I made a big video about it called the Lego Instagram scam that garnered over 250,000 views at this point. And the way the scam essentially worked is someone would have an Instagram page. They would get, you know, X amount of followers. This page in particular, Rare Finds Lego Store at the time, had about 20,000 followers. And they would just post pictures of boxes of sets and say they're for sale. They put the price and the condition, obviously usually brand new, sealed in the box and very cheap, in the little description. And so, for example, the 2008 Republic gunship, they wanted $150 for brand new, sealed in the box. At the time, it maybe it was worth $700 or something. So the price is startlingly low. It's not even like $500, dollars where you could be like, oh, maybe they're just trying to give someone a good deal or they just want to get rid of it. It was like obvious scam low in a lot of cases, although some of them weren't. It was definitely set by set. But the bigger tell with a page like this is if you just look at it, each set's background is different. It's like if you were buying something from me and I was taking pictures of my stuff or on Whatnot or whatever, you can see that like everything I physically have on my table versus this guy who's just posting pictures he found on Google and people are still falling for it. Like a lot of people fell for this, which was really unfortunate. Like a lot of people lost a good chunk of money falling for these little scams, but this type of scam was prolific and they would basically try to get you to pay in a way like with Western Union or something where you probably couldn't get your money back. And I think I went through kind of the process in this video where I tried to buy from him and he wanted it to be like a cash pickup at his bank. So I don't know what that means as far as like no one, I guess that's so he physically has the money and now no one can take it back from him unless someone comes and knocks his door down, but he's in the Philippines, so no one's actually going to be able to do that. I'm pretty sure I told some of my friends when we were like playing pickup basketball about this guy or like the scam, and then they were like troll messaging him too. It was a good time all in all, looking back at it. I like to think I helped clean up the streets a little bit that day and get rid of one of the most prolific Lego scams that we had at the time. So yeah, I haven't seen anything of the sort really for the past few years. It definitely is something that seems to have vanished. And I really don't know how like Instagram polices, like if someone else came along and wanted to do this, what's stopping them is kind of my question. Like how is Instagram, like is Instagram actually actively like making sure this doesn't happen is really what I'm getting at. Eclipse Studios Animation says, I recently got the Frico Speeder sealed. I've been wanting to open it, but I know it will lose value. What should I do? You might remember something I said last week. I was talking about this. I said, I think it's worth like $50. And then I said, it doesn't really matter what it's worth because I'm never going to sell it. And so with your recent Frico Speeder pickup, amazing set, by the way, I would highly recommend anyone that wants one go out and get it. But you seem obviously a little bit more worried about the value than actually enjoying the product, which is like, it's a double-edged sword. Like if you want to go out and buy things as an investment to go and sell later, all the power to you, go and do that. Like I obviously buy certain things with the intention to sell them later on, and I use them as such. Here's the Rogue Shadow set. Throw back to the video game talk earlier. Let's say I paid $400 for it. Obviously opening it, it will lose value, but I don't care because I bought it with the intention to open it. Just judging from your brief question, you obviously want to open the Frico Speeder. Just open it, build it, enjoy it, put it in a glass case where it, can't get destroyed over time, because I do think it's a bit silly to spend like a ton of money on a set like this, or, Frico Speeder is obviously cheaper, but if you're not protecting it over time, it will just like degrade so terribly. So I think you should protect against that. But when it comes to buying a Lego set, if you want to buy it and you want to sell it later, whatever. But if you buy it just thinking it will retain value, I think you're just kind of misguided there a little bit, and I think you should just kind of try to reset your thinking. Like, go and buy the thing, enjoy the thing, build the thing. Like, you will get a lot of enjoyment from building it. You can also get a good amount of enjoyment out of just keeping it in the box and leaving it on your shelf. You can also do that if you really don't want to open it because you're worried about the value. But I think of stuff like this a lot like the way I think of like people that don't want to put their minifigs on studs because they're worried they will crack. There's an inherent risk to all of it, right? Like, any minifig can crack at any time, even if you don't even touch it. So why not just use it? Like, you don't have to play with it. But like, if I want to put my Al Horford custom figure on studs, yeah, if his legs crack, that sucks. But like, I'm not going to not put him on studs because there's a risk of that. I can probably stop holding this now. So I just think there's times where you can tend to overthink it, like with figures or like with the value of opening a set or not opening a set. It's like, if you bought it as an investment, sure, keep it sealed, whatever. But if you bought it wanting to build it, just go and build it. Razzlenuts says, with May 4th coming soon, what do you think is better, going to a Lego store or ordering online? I think like kind of the ambiance at the Lego store is worth going there for, like on the first day, right when they open. I really enjoy it. I always get to talk to at least a few fans, and every once in a while I come across people like a couple years ago I met a guy wearing one of, where is it at, the Yoda hats. Like, if I ordered my stuff online, I wouldn't have met the guy that was also wearing like one of these Yoda hats that I had like sitting in my closet for 10 years. You know what I mean? Like, there's just something to experiences like that make it worth going to the store for me. Also, for me personally, like if I didn't get a set early from Lego for free, which I don't anymore, or, was able to buy it from a fan or find it somewhere else early, I always want to go on release day right when they open so I can get the set and make the content that day, make the review, make the comparison, whatever video I was going to make out of it, right? So for those couple reasons, I think it's good to go to the store. I think it's bad to go to the store because they can run out of things. Like, things sell out. They run out of promos. They run out of the new release set you want. They run out of the older set you want. They don't have the item on sale that you want. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of variables there. Maybe you show up an hour after the store opens and everything's sold out. You know what I mean? You just can't account for everything like that. Versus online, typically things are in stock at least for a few hours. So if you just are on lego.com at midnight on May 4th or May 1st or whatever, you're going to get the things you want. There's almost no way you don't end up with what you want because they make plenty of it. Like, people always blame scalpers and this and that. And it's like, there's a lot of other fans, by the way. It's not scalpers, I promise you, that are the reason that you didn't get what you want. It's because a ton of other people also want what you want. So if you want to make sure you get what you want, I would absolutely recommend being online at midnight. If you're a little more nonchalant about it, a little more open to maybe changing what you want on the fly, showing up to the store a little bit after the release time is fine. But if you want to show up a couple hours early, it's like, kind of sucks to wake up so early, drive to the Lego store. Some people don't live too close to it. So, like, generally, I would advise just doing it online to make sure you get what you want. But there's something about going to a Lego store on May 4th. It is a fun time. So I would recommend, if you can, you just need to be aware that there are risks involved with not getting what you want because the stock is finite. Zach, with an all-time great question, says, you get behind-the-scenes Last Dance level footage for 1 year of Lego Star Wars. You get to see the design process and every decision made. Which year are you picking? So, 2005... obviously comes to mind, Revenge of the Sith. You all also cannot answer this question without considering 1999 being that it was the first year of Lego Star Wars, and it would be very interesting to see how it all came together to begin with. 2005, I think, would be cooler to see than that for me, because it's one of my favorite years ever with Revenge of the Sith. It's got the big Death Star, the Sandcrawler, like, a lot of highlights that year, right? But I would also look to 2008, 2009, some of the other golden years of Lego Star Wars. 2014, for as good as it is, I don't think would be all that interesting to see the behind the scenes. They just made some good sets that year. I think it's more interesting when it is newer media really coming out, right on the, it's just happening with the Clone Wars, just happening with Revenge of the Sith. There's something about that first wave of things that just hit, right? And as great as it would be to get all access behind the scenes on any of those given years, and I'm sure you guys would have your own preference for this, I would go to 2020. For the Final First Battle Pack, obviously. I'd love to see the behind the scenes on that. Obviously, they saw the Final First Battle Pack video. I'd love to see kind of, what they thought of it, this, that, and the other, right? I think that would be interesting, because obviously that's why the set got made. But 2020 was also the first year they made, the adult Lego Star Wars sets with the helmet line. Obviously, they've made adult sets forever. But with, the actual all-black art, I'm curious, you say behind the scenes, of every decision made, what the decision-making process behind that was, what those meetings looked like, talking about it, how interesting was this idea to people at the time? Did they think it would fail? Obviously, it hasn't. It's done pretty well. But, I'm curious what that looks like. You also had a couple of very interesting convention exclusives that year. Probably the last two great convention exclusives we will ever have for Lego Star Wars, with the Bespin set and the Nebulon B Frigate set. Both phenomenal sets, were great convention exclusives, but in another way, they also were very hard to get for people, which is kind of the point of a convention exclusive. But because of COVID, it was a bit different, and it made a little bit of a bigger mess. But I'd be curious what they thought about making those cool convention exclusives, because those ones were phenomenal. So while I think there are a lot of great choices for years that you could get something like this for, I think 2020 ultimately, to me, would be the most interesting. It also coincides with a time for me when my popularity on YouTube was really actually starting to take off. You know what I mean? I had been doing it full time for maybe a year or two, but 2020, obviously, somewhat coinciding with COVID and all that, was a big year for Lego, big year for the, creator space. And so I also look back at that, and I would just be curious on some of the behind the scenes on that. So there's so much there in 2020 to me that would make it interesting. And so that is the year I would go with. I love your question. Thank you. Brick Me Brady says, would the gift with purchase Death Star from last year be considered part of the new Starship collection? Same with the Nebulons. So I consider both of them to be in the neighborhood, certainly. They technically are not labeled as Starship Collection, nor is the Super Star Destroyer, but I think with the common sense outlook that I tend to have on things like this, to just group them together, it makes sense that they would all be one and the same with the Starship Collection, or better term, MIDI scale. So I think all of those fit the MIDI scale. Obviously, I keep my Nebulon on display with the other sets back there because it obviously just fits, and the stand is the same design and everything. It clearly is supposed to be that. I think you could make a different argument with the Death Star if you wanted to, but I would, just see it as belonging in that sub collection, even as a GWP. Looking at a set like the Death Star, it makes me really wish Lego would release sets like that. Why not release a $25 Death Star just that people could buy. Like that would sell like hotcakes. Like I just don't quite understand that. But I think that would be a really cool set to release as like an actual set, but obviously they went and made it a GWP, and it's also an amazing GWP, but it just begs the question, why not also have sold something like that as a set? So yeah, I do consider both of them to be like part of the mini scale Starship collection. Elijah says, do you think we'll get the same original yellow skin Jedi Bob like we did for the 20th anniversary figures in 2019 in Jedi Bob Starfighter, or will it be a complete remake and have tan skin like newer figures? So I don't know, like it's been a little while since I've made an updated rumor video, but like it's officially rumored or confirmed by reputable sources that the Jedi Bob will have yellow skin, no question about it. And I think that was the right choice. And as far as I can tell from some of those same sources that have talked about it, like it's not like a actual anniversary figure with like a back print like the Darth Maul. I guess we don't have that officially confirmed until Lego reveals it, probably in like July. Next question from Nuck Nick says, which investment do you regret doing? And so when it comes to like Lego sets that I've bought and sold over the years, I can't say there are any, because I don't remember a time where sets have generally gone down in value, right? Like usually things when you buy a Lego set and sell it later, they go pretty well. So I think from that front, I don't regret doing anything. Now on the personal side, speaking of the year 2020, that was also the year that I started getting into Robinhood, and that was a wild year for the stock market, crypto and everything, kind of like how crypto and Bitcoin are up like big right now. I bought some Bitcoin and stuff. And so without putting in the dollar amounts, we'll just work in percentages, like it went pretty poorly for me. You can see my chart kind of fell off a cliff in late 2022. Like I was doing okay at the beginning for the first year and a half, but when crypto crashed, I had a little bit too much money in crypto. I went down. Like now my chart says like, you know, my peak or like my bottom of the barrel was like down about 11.5%. But the problem with that is I've invested a lot more money since then, so it's like reduced how bad that looks. It was a substantial amount of my portfolio at the time. Like I would say I was down like 30% at peak, and I have scratched and clawed my way back. Now in March of 2024, I am officially on my 4 years of investing in the stock market, net positive 0.93%. And anyone that has like any financial literacy knows how bad that is. I think the average annual return on the stock market is like 7 to 10%. I was up a few percent at the time early on, and I was like, man, this is going well. The stock market's easy. And then I, just stopped going well. I definitely regret investing in crypto. It feels certainly a lot more like gambling. But I also don't regret it from the perspective of like having learned a lesson, a very valuable lesson early on in my investing career, right? Like it was, I had just started investing. I didn't have as much money in there as I did now. If it happened now, it'd be much worse than it was when it happened very early on, when I had literally just started dipping my toes. So I think I learned a good lesson. I've like really consolidated my investing strategy to like be smarter, more S&P 500, just better stocks that just make more sense. General Penguin is cool says, what is your Lego game ranking? I wouldn't count the original trilogy or prequel games, just the Skywalker Saga, the Complete Saga, the Clone Wars, and the Force Awakens. Now, real quick, can we talk about how insane it is that Lego made a Force Awakens game just as a standalone? Like, it's the only movie, I think, that got its own game. To be fair, I have never played the Clone Wars game, which is crazy. You would never believe that, but I'm saying it, and it is true. I've never played the game. So I don't know if I can really rank that, but The Force Awakens would probably be at the bottom just because I just don't care about the game. I suppose I would put the Clone Wars above that, but again, I haven't played it, so I can't truly rank it. Some of the memes are good. Then I would put the Skywalker Saga and then the Complete Saga at the top. I obviously played the Complete Saga a lot as a kid and loved the crap out of that game, and I did not play the Skywalker Saga past the first 4 episodes. Amorpheus says, we all know you have a huge clone army. Thank you. But how large is your Separatist army? How many basic tan B1 battle droids do you have? It just got a lot of votes, so I picked it. But I don't know how big my droid army is. I haven't made a droid army video since 2012. Like, it's been a long time since I've made a droid army video. I would argue it's probably not smaller than it was in 2012, but it's certainly nowhere near as substantial or massive or whatever as the clone army. Like just by virtue of buying some of the clone sets and buying some of the things that I bought over the years, like, yeah, the droid army has gotten larger, but like, I really know very little about like what I actually have there if I were to put it all into one space. Like, I eventually do want to make another droid army video. I'm working on a Whatnot like sponsored video where I try to build a droid army on Whatnot, buying stuff on there. As far as like the totality of my collection for it, I really don't know, and that's why I didn't pick your question for 6 weeks. I'm sorry if that answer is probably pretty disappointing to you, but eventually you'll get a good answer in the form of a video. I just have no idea when. Next question from Manu says, would you ever consider doing a medieval Lego collection or army? I don't know if I would like collect or army build with it, but if I ever get like good enough at mock building and have the time and ability to like, go and do that. I would love to do some medieval like mocks and things like that. Stuff has always been really cool to me. It's some of the cooler Lego mocks that I think are out there that you can see at conventions and online. So I'm certainly not opposed to it. I think Lego has done some pretty cool sets recently for that. But at the end of the day, it's just like, there's already so many things I want to do with Star Wars. I don't think I could do another full theme thing like that. Anyway, I hope you did enjoy. If you did, hit the like button. If you have a question or topic for episode 308, leave in the comments section down below, and I might just pick your question or topic, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.